Negotiation skills are crucial elements in communication skills. They are important assets for any candidate in an extremely competitive job market. When mastered cleverly, they offer good job opportunities in banks, public relations departments, sales departments, and many other fields. Types of negotiations. Negotiations are used mainly for two main purposes. Number one, reach an agreement. Number two, settle disputes. Number one, reaching an agreement. For example, between a customer and a supplier, or for example, in the case of wage negotiations, or in the case of trade negotiations. In the second case, settling disputes, negotiations are used to settle disputes, for example, disputes over contracts, labor conditions, or trade conditions. If people negotiate with each other, they talk in order to reach an agreement, which is to their mutual advantage. Mutual advantage means, the word mutual means common. In other words, as mentioned between brackets, good for both of them. For example, negotiations might include negotiations between a customer and a supplier. A supplier is a company or a person who provides products, and this includes talks between the company and the customer. Number two, negotiations can also take place in the case of mergers or takeovers. Mergers and takeovers, these are important words you have to know. A merger is the case where two companies become one. Two different companies decide to cooperate in order to become one company. For example, a merger that can take place between two big supermarket chains to become one supermarket. A very famous merger case took place between Disney and Pixar, for example. The two companies merged together and became one great film production company. Takeover. A takeover is again an important word. A takeover is the state when one company controls another company by buying it. An example of that took place in 2015 when the Dutch Shell company bought the oil and gas company BG Group. So the Shell company took over the British company. And in this case, we might think that a lot of negotiations are involved in order that mergers take place or takeovers take place. Wage negotiations and trade negotiations. Of course, another word for negotiations can be discussions. Negotiations also take place to settle disputes, solve disagreements, decide arguments, such as contract disputes. Okay, when two people are writing a contract, negotiations are used to settle any disputes between them. Labor disputes, strikes. Strikes is the case where workers refuse to work and stop working as a form of protest. Trade dispute, where talks fail, okay, trade disputes take place. So again, negotiations are used in two cases. Number one, to reach an agreement or to settle disputes. Moving on, let's see the word combinations that come with negotiations. Number one, intense negotiations, where the negotiations are intensive. It means that the negotiations are very difficult and tiring, with a lot being discussed. Many items are being discussed, very difficult and very tiring. In this case, we call the negotiations intense or intensive. Okay, delicate negotiations. Delicate negotiations, it means that the negotiations are difficult and could easily fail. But guys, pay attention that intense negotiations means that they involve many details. Okay, while delicate negotiations means that these negotiations are easily to fail, would easily fail and would easily be damaged. Okay, and that's why they call it tense negotiations, full of tension. 11th hour negotiation. 11th hour negotiation takes place at the last possible moment, and they call it also last minute negotiation. Okay, they mean that they are done at the last possible moment. Protracted negotiations. Protracted negotiations mean that they take a very long time, even more than expected. Someone who takes part in negotiations is a negotiator. Someone who is good at getting what they want is a tough negotiator. People who are persistent to gain a lot from negotiations, they are called tough negotiators. Okay, moving on to another word, bargaining. Another word for negotiate is bargain. Okay, another word for negotiate is bargain. To bargain, okay, means to agree to what each other do. They bargain means they reach an agreement. A bargain is a good deal. When I say this is a good bargain, means it's a good deal. Another word for negotiate is bargain. This is also used to talk specially or specifically about discussing and agreeing the price of something. So bargaining means agreeing on the price of something. Another name for negotiator is a bargainer. Collective bargaining. Collective bargaining means group of workers, they trying to bargain wage. Pay bargaining or wage bargaining, discussions between groups of employees and their employers about pay and conditions of work. Okay, let's see the word combinations with the word bargaining. Bargaining ploy tactic, it means this is a particular technique used by a negotiator trying to tell something that is important, but in reality it's not. So it's a kind of maneuver, okay, to tell people that this something is important while in reality it is not. It's a kind of maneuver technique. Number 2, chip tool. Chip tool is an issue that a negotiator uses in order to gain an advantage, highlighting a certain point in order to gain an advantage and finish the deal. PowerPoint bargaining. PowerPoint bargaining is a particular issue that a negotiator discusses the degree to which one side is strong enough to obtain what it wants. Okay, so a PowerPoint bargaining is the case where one side of the negotiation is stronger than the other. Bargaining process is the process that negotiations develop. So these are the word combinations with the word bargaining. So guys, now we learned about the negotiation skills and why they are used in reaching an agreement and settling disputes, and the word combinations with the word negotiations. Moving on to the word bargaining, knowing its meanings and the word combinations that come with it. Let's have a look at the exercises. Relate these headlines to the situations in A opposite. We have here some headlines of newspapers, and we want to know the situation that most suits it. France bans US films following talks breakdown. Bans means stops. US films following talks breakdown. Okay, breakdown means failure. So when talks break down, this is of course trade dispute. Okay, dispute, again, disagreement because of that they stopped US films. Okay, pharmaceutical giants say that combining would be to their mutual advantage. Okay, again, the word combining means, of course, merger negotiation. I told you a merger is a state when two companies combine together. World Trade Organization members in wide-ranging discussions. Trade discussions. See the underlined words? Trade discussions means trade negotiations. Employers refuse to negotiate with striking miners. Okay, again, striking miners means people on strike, they stop working, and this is labor dispute. Education Ministry and Compact in computer on every desk talks. Okay, Education Ministry, this is the customer. Compact, this is the supplier. So we're talking here about customer supplying negotiations. Eurotunnel attacks construction companies for late completion. Okay, now this is dispute over contract items, so we call it contract dispute. Car workers in 2-year pay deal talks with Ford. Okay, 2-year pay and talks. This is again wage negotiations. Moving on to the next exercise. Match the sentence beginning from 1 to 8 with the correct ending from A to H. The sentences all contain expressions from B and C opposite. Okay. After 48 hours of intensive negotiation in which he slept 4 is with number C. 1 is with 1C. Only 1 hour. Mr. Prescott said it has been both tough and incredibly complicated. Okay, guys, remember we said intense negotiations are tough negotiations. So we match the beginning of the sentence with the ending with number C. This is the most appropriate answer. Number 2, one of the problems of protracted negotiations is that achieving agreement can come, the answer is number F, to be more important than anything else, including the final decision. Okay, a clue here is that achieving agreement is very convenient with final decision. You achieve an agreement when you achieve a final decision. So again, this is a suitable answer for number 2. Number 3, after tense negotiations between the hijacker means people who kidnap, and air traffic control in Cyprus, the answer is number A. The plane was allowed to land at Larnaca Airport. Okay, this is again a suitable answer. 4, the agreement on limiting television violence represents the climax means the highest point of several months of intense, and the answer is number E, negotiations between television executives and the National Parent-Teacher Association. Number 5. The painting has been withdrawn from sale and acquired by the National Gallery. The answer is number H. Notice sales and after last minute negotiations with the auctioneers Southwest. Okay, sale and auction. Guys, an auction is a public sale. So the word sale is very convenient here with this last part of the sentence. Number 6. Then violence broke out and it took 6 months. The appropriate answer is number D, of delicate negotiations to put the process back on track. Okay, delicate negotiations, remember the word delicate negotiation means easily damaged. Okay, and here the violence broke out and it took 6 months of delicate negotiations to put the process back. Difficult negotiations, and this is obvious because they took 6 months. Number 7, the deal was struck only after 11th, the answer is number B, hour negotiations between the US, the European Union and Japan. Remember this word combination, 11th hour negotiation means negotiations at the very last moment. He's a tough negotiator. The answer is number G, and likes bargaining about everything. Remember, a tough negotiator is a person who likes bargaining and he wins at the end. These are the answers for the previous exercise. Thank you and good luck.